Hey guys, welcome back to the Double R. Today's installment will be a reading of the article entitled "The Problem with Women is Too Much Self-Esteem," originally published September 13th, 2010. The mantra for the past two generations in America has been that women suffer from low self-esteem brought on by a multitude of negative influences such as teacher bias, misogyny, old boys networks, parenting favoritism, double standards, gender stereotyped toys, etc. Chataeu representatives are here to tell you the low female self-esteem industry has been one giant scam perpetrated on gullible liberals and cowed conservatives. Women, American women in particular, don't have a low self-esteem problem, just the opposite. They have the problem of unwarranted high self-esteem. What kind of woman do you get when you combine a cultural apparatus designed to maximally extol the virtues of womanhood and cast all fault for any female shortcomings on male bias and discrimination with a biologically innate evolutionary imperative that renders men more expendable than women? The answer: a woman with a big fat head. From the cradle, women are groomed by their peers, family, society, and DNA coded algorithms alike to embrace the joys of big headedness. It used to be only beautiful women had this problem, and with at least a semblance of justification based on real value. But now, ugly women, fat women, and lawyers are all riding the phony low self-esteem grievance chariot to the entitled princess winner's circle. The result has been to produce a nation of broads hell-bent on seeing themselves as God's gift to God himself. The worst thing a man could do would be to feed this beast even further with traditional courtship game. It's not for nothing that modern game focuses so much on breaking down a woman's self-esteem into manageable chunks. Negs, qualification, teasing, push-pull, takeaways, calculated indifference. All are game tactics with the primary purpose of knocking big-headed chicks off their royal, gilded, vag-shaped thrones. And these tactics are effective precisely because girls want to be dethroned by a man of higher value than themselves, whether they admit to this or not. The funny thing about female self-esteem is that it doesn't take much to help it grow wildly beyond the bounds of the pot it was planted in. All women are born with a self-entitlement complex pre-installed. Eggs are biologically more expensive than sperm, and the brain of each sex has evolved to reflect that immutable procreative reality. In women, their minds are primed from birth to regard themselves as the more valuable sex, and this regard is not without merit, at least in the reproductive realm, which is the realm that underpins all other realms. Men, by contrast, are primed to regard themselves as less individually valuable than women, and this manifests as willingness to take more mortal risks. So now that we know that women start with a higher basal self-esteem than men, wouldn't it make more sense for a healthy, functioning society to turn its cultural apparatus towards the project of boosting men's self-esteem? In fact, this is what quasi-patriarchal societies used to do before they were infected with the late decadent, postmodern deconstructivism and victimology viri. Now the optimal pattern has been completely turned on its head. Intrinsically high self-esteem women are administered supercharged booster injections of ego stroking, while intrinsically low self-esteem men are, either deliberately or coincidentally, pushed further into ego-deflating self-abnegation. See March 2009 Beta of the Month for an example of this, and I'll include the link in the description below. The goals of this outpost of bristling reality are, number one, to acquaint readers with the truth of the female and male condition that exists past the boundaries of mainstream approved polite discourse, and 2, to arm the male readers, and by extension the female readers, with the tools to capitalize on that taboo knowledge. Thankfully, there are plenty of readers here who contribute to that knowledge base. Reader PA comments, and I quote, "Gentle and friendly teasing is not intimidating and creates a sort of rapport that makes one feel at ease." And he's quoting Heartiste there. And then the following is PA's comment. "Exactly. This is true even with non-sexual interaction. Think of the last time you saw a man who was good with kids. He will neg the girl by saying stuff like, 'Hey, you're cheating, no red crayon allowed,' or whatever. Boys, on the other hand, don't like to be negged. If you're good with kids, you will build him up with stuff like, 'That's really cool, can you draw it bigger?' etc." Unquote. If you have young nieces and nephews, you will quickly recognize the truth in PA's comment. Nieces respond positively, with glee even, to prototype negs and teasing, the sort of banter that modern feminists would describe as demeaning. In contrast, little boys with their fragile egos wilt under negs and teasing, but respond well to compliments and encouragement. Mothers instinctively know this, as they will often reprimand the fathers for being too discouraging or too critical with their sons, while giving the fathers a pass or a semi-serious chiding when they tease the daughters. The great irony here is what makes good parenting is exactly the opposite of what feminists claim is the best way to raise boys and girls. Parents know deep down that to raise a good daughter, you must keep her ego judiciously pruned, and to raise a good son, you must suffuse his ego with promise. Game theory, and in fact most social theory, has much to owe to the instinctual rapport that emerges between father and child before diseased memes intrude and sully the message. When you want to better understand the nature of game and how it helps attract women, think of how you treat your niece, or how a father you know treats his young daughter. Recall how effortlessly the negs and teasing spilled from your lips when you were goofing around with your little niece. Recall, too, how she squealed with delight. Then take that knowledge and apply it, almost verbatim, to your seductions of adult women. Their vocal pitch may change, but the squeal remains the same. Today, in the era of the bloated female ego, the mark of a quality woman is a humble woman. Meet a pretty woman like this, usually foreign, and usually from a strong lower to middle class family, and marvel how refreshing she seems to the typical mind and body bloated American chick you are used to dating. Unfortunately, more likely you will meet another egotistical bitch with self-love issues, and will have to invest months in training her, i.e. running game on her, to grace her with a proper and realistic humility. For those who love the game for what it is, this is not such a burdensome sacrifice. But for those who struggle to hear the strange tuning of a woman's feminine nature, the required training may be a cost too high to pay. That will conclude today's reading. This has been the Roissy Reader with "The Problem with Women is Too Much Self-Esteem." Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time.